Hello everybody and welcome to our today's story, Reducing Exposure Time. Through this next 60 minutes or so, we'll get you into the story, what's happening, what you can expect and what not. Then we go through the actual demo and then we will wrap it up talking about what we saw. So let's get started with getting you into the story. Our story plays in exceed.com. To be clear, in exceed.com's SOC, where we will hear Ryan and Steve working on an incident. Ryan will notice that incident in the first place as a first level analyst and will do some initial triaging, and all of a sudden he will recognize together with Steve that there is much more behind than initially looked like. So the end of the story will not be spoiled, obviously. Steve and Ryan might be our protagonists, however they work for Sheila. Sheila, as the SOC manager, expects obviously both to reduce problems, to mitigate issues very efficiently and effectively so that she can report success stories up to Brian, which is the CISO. So let us see how the team helps Brian in order to address security issues to the company most efficiently and effectively. It's showtime. The problem surfaces. We begin our day as Ryan, the first level analyst, and log into the ITSM system to see what work items have been brought to our attention as the first level analysts. So we go to the incidents, and in the incidents lists, we check for incidents assigned to the level 1 work pipeline, and indeed we find 4. The one appealing to us is the potential identity threat. So we pick that and start analyzing on that. First thing we do, obviously, is we take ownership. So we edit the incident and become the analyst being responsible for it by assigning it to ourselves, Ryan Parsons. The next step is that we indicate that we're working on the incident, and we leave a comment that we pick up responsibility and ownership and continue working on it. So this is an exciting one. Identity theft obviously needs to be addressed urgently. Otherwise, someone is doing in our name or in someone else's name things we do not want, right? And that puts us in bad reputation as a company. So we now see this incident as being assigned to me, Ryan, and I can start working. Next thing is that we check what so-called scope items have been extracted from the original alert. So what I can see here is that we have a blue one, a red one, which is basically indicating the role of the different systems. And we do not know much about it. So we enrich these scope items by going to our CMDB we have introduced. And this way we can get contextual information about the systems participating in that incident. That obviously counts for the internal address, the 172.19.101. For the other address, which is a public IP address, what I have to do is I have to do some threat intelligence enrichment. And also that is available at the fingertips. I just select the service I want to use, and I want to enrich an IP address. Select the IP address and get the things kicked off. After a while, we can see it down there in the incident history under the enrichments tab that some enrichments have happened. We have retrieved base events for the alert, and we have triggered 2 enrichment integrations, one for the internal address with our CMDB and the other one with a threat intelligence service coming from IBM for the external IP. We can collapse this information and see exactly what the integration has provided back to us. So we got a full qualified domain name, a primary role, and a criticality of the system, which is very high in this case, which is interesting. We weren't aware of that before. Also, the external system triggering that activity obviously has a track record, right? It's kind of a Tor exit node, obviously, so kind of interesting, right? The next thing we do is the username being involved. Joshua Newman can be enriched as well by the same integration, so that asset database holds information about systems and about users. So we enrich Joshua Newman as the username and see what the database knows about this one. This might also help us to better understand what the incident is about and how urgent that incident might be, depending on the role or depending on the meaning to the company's business that Joshua Newman guy has. So me personally, I don't know him, so I have to ask the database for sure. And what we see here is he is an America's sales manager, so potentially a guy knowing interesting stuff about our customers, having access to customer relation management databases. So this is definitely something we should dig into deeper. And we see that orange items now in the case, which is related items. So they have something to do with the others, the blue ones being the impacts, so those being addressed by the attack, and the red ones being the offender, so the aggressive part of that incident. So what we now can do in the incident history, we can leave a comment that we do some initial triaging and leave that for the second level analyst maybe, so that Steve can dive more quickly into that. All of these automations and all of that results information I can give to the follow-on parties will definitely reduce our exposure time, as it will reduce the work time for the incident, right? So all the information we gathered together were meaningful. We can leave some comments in the incident description. We can add labels. These labels will immediately come to another person's attention when he's looking at the incident without putting any further manual, right? So we describe this incident further based on our initial triaging. It is obviously an executive account which is compromised. We have compromised credentials, as that account has been used from a source which is normally not usual for that username. So we can bring all this to the attention of the next person working with that by just adding these information as labels. So we now have triaged that incident. We have worked with that incident to a certain level. We add another comment about the things we just found and added as labels. And in the next step, we will forward the incident to our second level team. That means we go again into the edit menu, leave another comment that we're going to do that this incident is fine, and that we're going forward it to the L2 pipeline, not to a person, right, but to a pipeline, because we want that everybody in the level 2 team can basically pick it up and take ownership. So we do not want to make that a personal incident or a particular person's responsibility. So now my job as Ryan is done, and let's go and see what Steve can contribute. Yeah, I'm here. So let me take over. Good morning. Hey, I'm Steve. I'm Steve Greer, and I am a level 2 analyst at ArcSight.com. And hopefully you like what I do, because we're really looking for good guys like you out there. So let me show, and hopefully can get it sorted. Ryan has brought something to us as the level 2 analysts, I guess. So let me see what it is. I'm taking ownership. Sounds like that would be a good thing for me to do, to start the morning with. So let me pick up that one incident which has come to our pipeline, make it my own one, and then let's get started working on it. So first thing, obviously, after taking ownership, it disappears from the pipeline filter, but it appears as an incident being assigned to me, that identity theft thing. Let's see what Ryan has already found out. So we got some nice information from a detection engine. So the alert information being enriched with some base information, distance traveled, interesting. So normally that smells like no, not teen spirit, but like an identity theft, right? So distance traveled normally means that an account is used from a place from where it's normally not being used, and this normally indicates an identity record being stolen. And Ryan did a great job here, right? So he already found all that. He confirmed that this is indeed an identity theft. We can evidence that a bit more with some data, but first let's see what Ryan found out about the participating assets. So very high jump was involved. That's interesting. And some contextual information were found about the external IP address, which doesn't make it real better, right? So it has a track record. And also the guy being involved, Josh Newman, don't know that one, but he seems to be a manager. So potentially a person who knows stuff, right? Knows stuff about customers, having access to critical databases with personal information in it. So Ryan got a good feeling, I guess. So we should work further on that. And put some more efforts into it to better understand it, and especially to understand from where that account was stolen. So let's see what we can do as a next step. So I think what we should do is we should find some evidence that this thing has happened, some evidence which we can use to justify that we're going to go after Joshua Newman, not after him personally. I don't know him, but definitely after his technical account. So we reach out to the systems who might have detected this problem and see if we can get the actual data which led to it. And in this case, it was an anomaly, a travel anomaly. So I'm reaching out to that machine learning intelligence, which helped us here in this case, and bring up that Joshua Newman guy. And let's see if we can find something which is assigned to Joshua Newman. A lot of other things are here visible in the system. However, I'm focused, right? I'm focused on Joshua Newman at the moment. First, he has the highest risk in the system. Second, we have an incident we need to work with. So I am after the evidence. And that means let's really be focused on Joshua Newman now. So Joshua Newman has this record in our machine learning engine. I'm looking in particular for the impossible travel things which have raised. And indeed, this is what the system found based on geo coordinates. That guy really made it happen in 6 minutes to travel a massive amount of kilometers, 10,000 kilometers in 6 minutes. That guy must really have some quick shoes, right? So let's get jokes aside. So we need to focus, right? So let's get rid of all the fields which don't have any information. And then let's see what we can export. Authentication verify against the jump host. Obviously, username was Joshua Newman. That seems to be indeed our geo violation incident. So the raw data we can see here will serve as evidence later on. So let's explore those raw events in the system, and then let's export it and let's make it an evidential part, an artifact to that incident by exporting the file, the events into a file, and then let's attach that file to the actual incident. So here's the export function. Export everything into a CSV file. The associated events obviously is a non-speaking name. So what we should do is we should give that a more speaking name so that this file also makes sense once it is not attached to the incident but found anywhere in a file system. So what we do here is we go back into our ITSM system, our ticket management, grab the incident ID and just attach that incident ID to the name of the file, of the raw file. After doing that, so obviously there's a piece of evidence to that incident. So let's make that clear here. I'm struggling with the UK or the US keyboard layout. I'm very sorry. I haven't had any coffee this morning, so bear with me. In a second, I will get it done. Here we go. So this is our evidence file now. We can pick and we can add that to the case down here in the incident history. Write some nice comments what this file is about and what we did, and that we indeed found evidence for what Ryan Pearson's already assumed and brought up in the case as comments, as labels. So good job, Ryan. Anyway, now we have it really written in, no, not in paper, but in a file, right? So we picked that file, we gave it a meaningful name, leave a comment, and alongside with that comment, I'm really typing very slowly. I'm very sorry for that. Again, it's the missing coffee, I guess. But we explained it a bit, right? So jump host in EMEA was used. Normally that Joshua Newman guy sits in Americas. So how the hell and why should he access the system in EMEA? He's not traveling a lot. He's responsible for AMS and all the thing, especially in that pandemic times, goes via virtual systems and via web conferences, right? So traveling is not necessary. So let's attach the file we found and we export it from the downloads folder here. Hopefully we can find it. Thank God we gave it a speaking name, and this way we easily can find it and we can attach it to the case. Now, after attaching it, the file and the comment, we notice that additional scope items have appeared, and we can see that by scrolling up. And in a second, I guess I do that. And scrolling up to the scope items. So scope items, basically every kind of things which have to do with the incident. We already have a lot from the enrichments done by Ryan, but we have additional ones, and the additional ones has to do with the file which is attached. And in a moment, when I get that typing sorted here in the search box, I can show you what I mean. So we search for EV, like evidence, and we see the file here we have attached. So the file is a scope item, a related scope item, the file itself, and we have additional things, and these additional things are hashes, one MD5 and one SHA hash being applied, so that we can notice any changes made to that evidential file. Hello, it's me, Steve again. You remember me? I offered you a job, right? No, not really. So 2 weeks earlier, we learned that Joshua Newman's account was stolen, but how on earth, right? How could that happen? So let's see if we can find some things helping us to understand how whoever get hands-on to Joshua Newman's account data. Right? So we go to our original incident and we assume that Joshua Newman's client machine, the workstation, should have to do something with it. That's a hypothesis, right? We do not know that. We just assume it and we try to find out if you're right or if you're not right. So checking incidents which also have Joshua Newman's client address involved. And indeed, we find something, right? That is an integrity breach on a critical asset. Oh, shit. Okay, so I think that could have to do with it. So let us get after that one. So all the base data, so machine names, addresses, zones, that seems to be about right? So it's a matching thing, it fits somehow. So let's open that incident. A potential integrity breach on a critical asset. Let's look into that. Some of the items, again, were already extracted from the original alert we got from a detection engine, but let's enrich it. You have seen that already from Ryan, how he did that. So we have integrations. We're using threat intelligence services to enrich external IP addresses and stuff. So also in this incident, we have an external IP address we should enrich to better understand if that incident has a track record, if that IP address is known for some particular tactics or techniques. We're talking literally here. And also let's enrich the other internal addresses. In this case, we do another shot for the external IP address because IBM didn't return anything, so we can use recorded future and others, everything which is basically integrated. But now let's go after the internal addresses. So we enrich using the JDBC, that's technology we use to get onto our Exceed asset database, and we run that enrichment query against our CMDB. We do the same thing for the other internal addresses. In that case, we only have one. So let's check what the enrichment queries do and what the status of it is. We see a track record of those in the audit or history area of the incident. We see that we enriched the external address with IBM X-Force and with recorded future, and recorded future found something which is basically related to command and control or flux DNS. But let's see, I mean, that is in the first place just an indicator that this IP address is not very well perceived in the wild out there. So it might be concerning, right? So we take a note here and we look further what the other components are. We obviously knew, right, because that was our assumption that Joshua Newman's workstation is involved. So the second is not a surprise. That was Joshua Newman's workstation. So with what we found, let's leave some comments. And it kind of fits, right, what we assumed. Joshua Newman's workstation is involved. We have a bad reputed system who has had some communication with that workstation of Joshua Newman. And that might be an indicator that Joshua Newman's account was indeed stolen by that activity being highlighted here by this incident. So we had a user log on. And yeah, let's go forward by first leaving some comments for upcoming and next working steps. An administrative access was actually what we observed here, so describe that in the comment. And it might be that Joshua Newman's system was actually not very well protected and not even very well administered, right? So if an administrative access was somehow possible, it might be bad configuration or it might be a vulnerability which lead to that fact. So let's also talk, but that is out of scope of this demo here. Let's talk to our Exceed.com vulnerability management team. It really cannot be that critical assets, so workstations or servers, workstations being used by critical persons, come along with critical incidents which allow remote administrative access. That should be a CVSS score of very high. So definitely something worth going after. In addition to that incident here, going with the vulnerability management team. So we leave that as a comment here in this incident. And next step is that we edit the incident's data and I see that I have not picked that up, so I guess I will do that in a second. Have I said that I need coffee in order to work concentrated? Anyway, so all of the things we just found with the help of that integrations and enrichments, we leave information about that. And another thing we can leave here is obviously again the labels, so that a third-party team or user can get a quick idea what that incident is about. Remember, this is an incident which is probably related to our master incident we worked on in the first place. So what we should probably do is we should make this incident a related incident, right? So we do that by entering here the incident ID of the other incident. And then we can link the both incidents here and say, this is a related one, or this is a depends on. So with this incident or without the other incident, this one would probably not have happened. So we have added it as a related incident, and now we can go further. And we keep our initial potential identity theft incident as, let's call it maybe container, as the container incident, where everything is collected, what is regarded to the story. Now, let's do it clean. So let's pick the incident. Let's make it our own one, indicating that this has a relation to another one I'm already responsible for. So basically I'm covering both of the incidents and putting it out of the scope of others, putting it away from the L2 pipeline, right? So other L2 analysts can focus on different things, which might open up different stories. So again, in that 1.7, we have enriched all the scope items. And now we go one step further even, right? One step further and assuming that the accounts were stolen in the first place from that client machine. But what happened as well? So was that machine indicative of doing any further bad activity, right? So we do the same thing we did before. With a workstation as a scope item, we see if there is any other things that item, that workstation or that scope item has been raised in forms of a ticket. And indeed, a cross-zone communication, and that seems valid, right? A cross-zone communication after initial identity theft might be a lateral movement. So this system now looks left, looks right, trying to find additional things in the network, which is worth going after. So you have already seen that. Let's enrich. That 2.5 incident, lateral movement, brings up new scope items, and that means we need to do additional enrichment to understand what are the assets, are of what role, and what might be a criticality involved into that related incident. You heard that again, right? Related. So what's happening later on probably is that we link this one with the master incident as well. But first, let's get these scope items enriched and understand if that really becomes more critical or if that kind of decreases the criticality by ending up in nothing, right? So it's lateral movement that can be successful or not, depending on the attacker, how sophisticated the attacker acts. Let's see what the enrichment queries are bringing up. So we did two, one obviously for the workstation, which is no surprise. We were going after that, so that must have happened. But we have enriched another one. It's not still done. The JDBC query has not returned, but now he has. So what is that about? Oh, shit. Okay. CRM, Customer Relation Management. An internal asset in an internal DMC, a customer database with a criticality very high and not just enough. Compliance is involved as well. So GDPR scope and compliance scope. So this is not good. Let's put a comment. Let's put a comment what we just found. So obviously that attacker not just stolen Joshua Newman's account, he was laterally moving through the network and indeed finding a CRM machine. Obviously, Joshua Newman's workstation has some indication that Joshua Newman is oftentimes working with that CRM machine. Maybe there's a client software installed talking to that CRM machine. That was an easy catch, right? So the attacker could obviously, from the system's behavior of Joshua Newman's workstation, easily find that regular communication behavior and thus find quite easily that critical asset here, the CRM asset. So this incident, that masked incident, it definitely becomes more critical as we go along and further understand the story. So good that we picked this 2.5 incident here. We definitely need to attach that later on to the case as well. But for now, let's explain that, right, in this incident here, that there is a master incident. And as a consequence of 1.7, the other incident we looked into before, where the account was stolen, that led to the third incident. So they are all related. What we're doing here, guys, is really we are building an attack story, right? So we are not working with the incidents. Obviously, yeah, we're touching them, we're commenting them, we're labeling them. What we're working on is an incident story, right? We put everything together, give it a meaning, understand how everything is put together, how everything relates to each other, so that we can really make smart decisions about how critical that thing is, how urgent we need it to be resolved, if we need to escalate it further, whom to inform. All these kind of things we can only do if you understand how the things play together. So let's reflect that. Let's reflect in our newly related incident what we found, but obviously I need to assign it to myself. This time I do it in the first place. I had my first coffee, so you see, it works. Let's leave some comments why we are taking that incident, that this is obviously related as well to our master incident. And obviously let's put that into a in progress stage, and let's see what labels we can use in order to make very clear that this is a high criticality thing. Quick typing is obviously a matter of a second coffee, not a first one, so I need to get one more. But let's find the labels first. So data leak, definitely, right? We have a database with customer-related information, GDPR-related, absolutely. That needs to be highlighted in order to get the right visibility and prioritization onto it. Again, let's copy the incident ID and let's bring that into our master incident as a related item. So we go back to it and we make clear over this menu down here. No, that was a wrong click. Also, that clicking is a matter of a second coffee, I guess. Back to the other one, to 3.8. Yeah, here we are, right. So let's add that CRM related incident, the cross-zone communication, as a related incident to our master container incident. And again, let's add some more comments to the master incident, because the master incident reflecting the story has some new, let's say, some new information around it. So we need to reflect that definitely that deserves now a higher criticality, right? And also the data leakage, contextual critical information we got from the other incident needs to be reflected in that master incident. Remember, this reflects more of a story now, right? It was an incident in the first place, but now it reflects the whole story of the related incidents and of that master incident. We put that as a comment, as this is a good style. That is not only us wanting to understand it, but also others want to understand it. So let's help them participating in our findings. So data leakage is a topic, right? GDPR, as there's PII information, probably it's a customer relation management database. So we're supposed to find a lot of names and addresses in there, partnerships, business partnerships information in there. So this is definitely something which need to be brought onto the attention of our data privacy office. And maybe even we need to inform these data subjects in that, depending on if there is a data leakage or not. I mean, as of now, we only understand that the attacker was after that CRM system, that CRM system is involved, and that there is a very high potential of this being or becoming a data breach, a serious data breach, right? So things are really getting exciting now, in a negative sense somehow, but that might be a good replacement for coffee, working on an exciting incident. You see a pattern here for a reason. So now let's get further into it. But as I mentioned a couple of times, this is a matter of coffee. So let me pick one and then I'm right back. Wait a moment. Wasn't that about reducing exposure time? Yes, and it still is. You're right. You're paying attention, right? So the fact that we're working together in an efficient manner here, the fact that we semi-automate or fully automate stuff here helps us definitely to be quicker with our incident, and that helps us to reduce exposure time. That's for now, but wait for the summary later on. But for now, again, we have serious things to solve. What we found lastly is that in the 2.5 incident, that there was a customer relationship management system involved. And that one was really bumping up the incident's criticality by a lot. So let's get deeper into that. As of now, we just found that this system was involved. But what we do not yet know is if indeed data has left the system and if data was exfiltrated from that system. So again, you have already seen that. Let me find out if the CRM system was involved in different things as well. And indeed it was. A potential data confidentiality breach is detected here, which also contains the CRM system as one of the scope items. So let's check what potentially happened here and if the major parameters fit to the incident. So the source address, destination addresses, and also what the destination address and so on might be from that incident. So is that complementing our story? And as soon as we have a certain certainty here and an idea about what that can be, so it definitely fits into the story, we go into it, right? And then same exercises. We enrich all the scope items, and I have a suspect here. So this is really, this might become something really serious. So let's check. So we enrich the initial asset, which is the CRM system. I already know that, right? We have done that in the last section and the last piece of our work. But let's see what additional system comes up here. So there is an additional system being involved, which we do not yet know. And obviously the CRM system has changed places. It was the impact system, so the target system before. Now it's the aggressor, right? The red one. The blue one, I'm sorry. So once the enrichment queries have finished, and especially that for the new one here, this is the CRM asset. We know that already, no surprise. We're still shocked, right? Ooh, it's very critical. But the new one is, let's see what that really is. So is it really bumping up our criticality even further? Or is that now, let's say, stopping a dead end? So is data moving on or is data not moving on? That's the critical question now. So let's see. And okay, even things getting worse. It is an update server. What that tells me is that A, that one's sitting in an external DMC. B, that one is supposed to have data traffic in and out by a lot. So that was a really smart move by the attacking party, as this obviously was selected or maybe even accidentally found, but it was a lucky shot then, as an exfiltration point. That system might even fly under the radar if it transports data in and out at a very high level, right? Because that system is supposed to do it. It's a WSOS, so Windows Service Update Server, and that's moving packages back and forth and acting as a server with a high data movement profile. Okay, so again, we understand that this is about data movement. It's coming from a CRM system, so we got an inherited GDPR and compliance relationship and impact. We are sure as well that this is interconnected to our master incident. So let's copy the incident ID. And as you already have seen that a couple of times, let's add this as a related incident to our master incident. And I'm getting a bit nervous here, right? So because that story turns out to be something which can really become critical. Let's place some comments. Let's make everybody aware and let's take that for later as well when we send out the notifications. So this incident might be related, is probably related with a high likelihood to 3.8, and it really seems that this one complements our attack story towards a really critical issue even further. Right after the account has been stolen, after lateral movement was committed altogether with the account theft, we see that the critical CRM system was involved, and even now it looks like that there's a communication relationship between the critical CRM system and an external system, which would be a good fit for a data exfiltration kind of activity. And also, obviously, we see from that alert here that there was a file write access via server message block protocol. So let's try to find some evidential information here by doing a search. We have no clue what that is all about, right? So let's just simply start with a buzzword SMB. And obviously what we know is that the source address is the CRM system. And this is not good. This is really not good. You see on the right-hand side, this is another indicator what kind of data. Probably the name is fake, definitely, right? But the file size is brutal, and the file size is really concerning. And the fact that obviously data was dumped into a file and archived into a zip means the attacker is serious here. So let's without any further delay, let's go after that. Let's export that evidence. Let's attach that evidence to the case, and let's make that an even higher priority. We really need to take care of that. I have not thought that this will become such a critical thing after looking at the 3.8 and the 1.7 incident initially. But you see, things can go wrong, things can go worse, and things can become even more worse. Today's obviously one of these days, right? So you have seen that from me as well. Again, I give it a kind of meaningful name, or at least I allow here to map it to a particular incident. I give it some more information what that file is about. It's an evidence for an artifact for current work here. We attach it to that case, and then we go further with our analysis. We leave some comments here what we actually found. So we found that there's obviously data moving out from the CRM system into an external DMZ system, which is a WSOS server. So it's not just like that we now sitting in a position where we can exfiltrate data from, which is the external DMZ. It is also a very smartly picked system from which the actual data exfiltration activities might now originating from, as that system has a high profile in regards to data movement in, data movement out. So someone wants to fly under the radar here by using the Windows Update server for the data exfiltration exercise. Let's attach that file. And let's go into the scope items again. Let's see that the file is attached. We have seen that before. So we have not just the file name, we have also the summaries, the hash files, the integrity checks alongside with the file in a SHA form and in an MD5 form. Now let's reflect our findings in the actual incident. So let's go edit the incident and let's add some more speaking comments and some more speaking labels to it so that we can easily handle it further and that we can reflect that stuff that we just learned about it. So we definitely need to escalate it to an even further level, because definitely data is exfiltrated, data is touched on the system and moved forward, prepared for an exfiltration. So we should leave that as a comment. I've increased the priority and then moving on. And the next obvious step would probably be that we see what the WSOS server is doing with the data. So if that server really is indicative of any kind of activity which is outbound and which tells us if the data is actually leaving the company or if the data is not leaving the company. So this will be our next step, and depending on that step, we need to escalate it even further. That might even have the potential for being a crisis, but that would then be a matter of the CISO. Hey everybody, it's me, Steve again. We're not done with our incident, so let's see what we need to do. The first thing is that we need to check if there is any indications from the Windows Update server that there happened anything in directions outbound. So can we really make sure that the data is only moved to the update server, but not further into the internet or any drop hosts and stuff like that. So we do a search basically and check what we find for the WSUS server as the source, as the origin. And it seems that there is indeed something, but that doesn't look like data transport. That more looks like command and control traffic. So it might be that we're lucky that data not yet has left the enterprise, but we might not be so lucky in that regards as that the system is obviously preparing for, let's say, staying connected to their masters, staying connected to their controllers. And this is worth definitely another incident. So we need to fix that. We need to document that this incident is not yet come to an end. And we manually create an incident here. The rule name is basically a fake one, indicating that this is a manual rule and not coming from any alerting system. Then we give that incident a speaking name. We give him kind of a new phase as the number 5 dot, indicating that this is a new step, a new phase in the overall incident story. And call that command and control communication detected, as this is what we just found, right? Command and control like communication behavior. We make that critical, obviously, because that is a behavior we do not want from our Windows server. And the next thing is that we need to create the scope items manually. So we find one scope item, which is obviously the Windows server itself, and that is the offender, so the aggressive part, the source part of the incident. And then we have another party in that incident, which is the destination system where we are finding communications towards. And if you remember, in one of the earlier stages, we also found that system as being a DNS flux system. So also from a story point of view, that fits, and that is the impact system. I cannot feel with that system, right? So this is not a victim here, but from a logical and determination standpoint, wording standpoint, the target system is the impact system. However, that's an external one, and obviously trying to maintain a command and control connection with our Windows server. So the next thing we do is we comment that incident and explain a bit our finding. Manually created incident and this behavior we observe here in that incident is part of our story, and it seems to be the last part, originating from a Windows server, a Windows Update server to be precise, in a DMC, in an external DMC, and this server has obviously been prepared as a data exfiltration system. That is from 2 points which tell me that basically. One is that it is a server with a high data movement profile, and the other one is obviously that we detected real command and control communication. I assign that incident to myself. I forgot that first place, and make it an in progress incident. This is not open anymore. We're working on it, and the label here is command and control, obviously, because that is the major behavior we found for that incident. We copy the incident ID. Again, you have seen that a couple of times, and I make that related incident to our master container incident, so that we can further maintain the story, the overall understanding of what's happening in that master incident. We comment that in the master incident as well, while we're adding this incident, and that this is a logical consequence, a subsequent step in our overall idea of what's happening here. Describing that further. And in the next step, as we only found command and control, we obviously need to double check at least if we not have overlooked any data exfiltration evidence. So this is the really crucial thing now, right? If this is only quote unquote command and control, we probably are lucky, kind of lucky. If we find further evidence that this is not just command and control, but also other stuff like data exfiltration to any external system, then we are in a completely different situation, right? So then this would probably call a crisis. Maybe even we probably need to inform C-level management and all that kind of thing. So let's find out if that is necessary. But first, as the next step, Let's get the evidence for that new incident, and let's mark that evidence again that this is belonging to that new incident with the incident ID. Let's give it a speaking name, CNC for command and control, and let's add this evidential file into the newly created incident. Again, give it a comment along with the attached file. And then after doing that, we can go further. Again, with problems, challenges with typing. It's late, been working all day on that incident, and we're close, we're really close, and it was definitely worth the efforts, but yeah, it's exhausting, I can tell you. So really think twice if you want to get into that job, or if you maybe prefer a real job. Okay, so again, let's add that evidential document, not just to the original incident. Actually, we are adding it now to the, or we have added it to the original incident, but also let us add it to the container incident, so that we can keep the story up and complete and comprehensive with all the artifacts we have collected throughout our investigation. Now it's time to have another look. If that Windows Update Server has become kind of suspicious for any other things beside the command and control traffic. So what we can easily do is with the machine learning, with the help of machine learning technique, is to go to the Windows Server and see what types of threats we have found for that. So do we have any exfiltration threat? No, we don't. See that from that filter. Next filter might be that there might be any proxy traffic related to that system. Also a no. So this system really has not shown any kind of reasons for being concerned that data has flown out. So we further assume, we double check that here. If data has flown maybe to any other system from the CRM system, not just to the Windows Update Server, to make sure we are following the right track here and not ending in kind of a dead end. And what we find is a lot, but what we also see is that this is only the traffic we were already aware of. So the traffic going from the CRM system to the Windows Update Server in the external DMC. So with that further analysis, quick analysis, we double checked that the Windows Server was obviously only negatively shining for its command and control traffic, but not having shown any typing. It's really an art. Has not shown any further data exfiltration activity. So it was a recipient for the data. It was the system supposed to be the exfiltration system. It is the system which was prepared to maintain a connection to a command and control network. But it seems, and really our team has proven that they are worth every minute they are at work, that they are motivated, that they're working with the right technology, obviously, that this seems to be like, we stopped that incident really very, very close before the finish line. That is our current assumption. There is no evidence speaking against that. So let's bring that comment to an end. And from that moment, we assume that we have finally understood the incident. The story is kind of completed. We give that into the comments, and we tell the system that mitigation now is in progress, as we now have gained good enough understanding in order to shoot out some mitigative actions. Let's jump to the incident part of the story, which has the items which we want to be responding to, or which we want to contain, let's put it this way. And in that case, it might be the CRM asset. We want to cut off the CRM asset's communication into a neighbor DMC. So we push out a firewall rule on our Palo Alto machine. And this is concerning the CRM IP address, and creating that action will now with the integration being functional to the Palo Alto firewall, will now be pushing it out to the firewall and block the communication for a particular amount of time. We can set a rollback mode here so that the rule will automatically taken away. Same with here, with adding some assets and entities to active lists. That helps us definitely to better understand if there is follow-on activities from these observed and suspicious and already elevated assets. So as said, we can equip that with a rollback time. So that means that we can remove the remedial actions automatically after a configurable amount of time. And that gives the asset owners, the business owners, the possibility to react on it and to apply meaningful and reasonable measures against these systems. So we are adding additionally this machine to our watch list. That means our rules in the rule engines can pick up these assets and more closely monitor it. So knowing that these are already elevated, and this way pushing alerts, pushing activities to a higher attention, which are coming from machines which already have a track record. We see that Joshua Newman appeared on that list, and to that list we need to say that this is a combination of artificial intelligence, machine learning kind of findings and active lists. So that was not purely the content of this active list. However, for the rules, that doesn't matter. For the rules, the entries are there and they are taken into consideration if the rules are crafted in that specific way. So we leave another comment. We give some information about the additional remedial actions we applied to the various systems, to the enforcement points like firewalls, but also to the monitoring nodes. My typing gets slower and slower. I guess I need to refill my coffee. That's going a running gag, isn't it? Anyway, a bit of fun needs to be in this serious kind of things. It is really important what we do here. It is really, really, really effective what we do here as we help our company to stay out of negative media sentiment. And this one, cleaning up. It has to be right. Cleaning up is necessary in terms of documentation, in terms of sending notifications, and that is what we do here, right? We have received Robert Legler as part of our enrichment as the owner of this particular asset, and we're notifying him about our activities, that his asset is part of an incident, that his asset is part of an active incident, including the role, like is it the aggressive part or is it the receiving part? So the attacked part, the passive part, in order to make him aware and to give him the chance to reach out to his business owners and business process owners making use of his asset and discuss further actions. So from a security standpoint, the mitigative actions are enrolled, and we can say that we can hand it over now to gain further understanding from a business point of view and to ask them to participate in the remedial actions in order to make smart decisions, and also in order to make the decisions not harming the business, right? It's always a balance between finding the right measure in order to protect the business, but also do not hinder our business. And that these actions here failed is totally fine, as there is no active and working communication with that Palo Alto firewall. That was just for demonstration purposes, that we can place rules on that firewall. Well, actually, there is no firewall listening for our commands via the API. What I also want to turn out here is that the fact that we are using SOA kind technology, but what we have seen is that really a majority of the things we did were not about responding, were not about placing rules, were not about blocking users and all that, right? It's notifications, it's enrichments, it's understanding. And this is an example. I'm very sorry for the bad email template we're using here. We can do a lot more, make it more beautiful. Let's see if I can come up with more beautiful things, but my other guys and myself as well, we're geeks, right? We're looking with an IT eye and not with a designer eye on that kind of things. So for the last bits, we obviously go back to our incidents, and we wanna highlight that the incidents are closed. We begin with the related incidents, and these related incidents get a closing comment and explaining that these incidents are part of a bigger incident. A little typo here. Get me a coffee. And with that, we go through the other incidents as well. We place the remedial actions so that these incidents could be considered as done. If you would like, we could handle them further independently from the container incident and see if there is additional things to do. But they played their role, they are well understood. So we put them in the closed status. We do that with all the incidents. And also we leave a final comment over here so that everybody understood why we closed them and what was the final outcome of this incident. Also, obviously, there is a reporting part later on and the final presentation part, and these both items, so the report and the final presentation, can become attachments to that incident so that even further understanding can be applied to it. And watchers or interested parties might not only rely to the comments we gave here, because those comments probably come from a very in-depth and very involved kind of mindset. So it might help to have additional assets to help outside parties to understand that incident as well, coming with a different mindset rather than with an analyst mindset, digging in and out for an hour. Lastly, we go and close the container incident. So our 3.8, the incident, we put basically everything into it. We make a short comment that we understood the story, they've understood the participating incidents, that we mitigated the critical items, and then we hand it over to the asset owners to get additional things rolling together with the business owners of the system and with the service owners using that system. As a last thing, as already said, we're going to a reporting engine. We are going to run a detailed incident history report. This report we do not so much care about because reporting will change in later on versions. The vendor has promised us that great soft-based reporting will come into the product. Let's see. I'm looking forward to that. So for now, we just see here that all the critical information can be collected, can be put into a report, and can be presented in a high-level manner, or as we see in a second, in a low-level manner as well, when we come to the detailed incident timeline. So really every step we took during the investigation is listed here so that we can really easily understand what happened to the incident, what activities were carried out, and what comments were given. So this is a really detailed track record of the entire incident and audit ready, so to say. Hello, my name is Sheila, and first thing I want to do is say sorry for my deep voice. We haven't met yet. I am the stock manager of ArcSight.com, and I'm here to celebrate the success of my great team. So it's really time raising the chair for them. A big round of applause for that phenomenal job Steve Greer and the team, as they have resolved the complex incident, multi-stage. All the various forms of activities were there, and all that was possible by the smart brains, obviously the experience of the guys, but also by the different types of technology, very well integrated with each other and on the spot, right? On the spot, really doing what they were built for, what they were supposed to do in the overall story. What I asked them is to come up with a short summary so that I can go to Brian, the CISO, and talk about that success. So let's see what they came up with. They put together a presentation, actually, and that presentation gives us a summary of what happened. So we had an incident. That incident was a multi-stage attack from an unorganized external party. So we get all the high-level details here, and we also get some highlights, right? So how long it took to understand what the incident is about, how long it took to actually carry out the first and initial kind of responsive measures, and the actual residual risk is 0. That's what we see here, and that's basically part of the outcome. And due to the fact that the team was able to stop the incident before actually data flew out via the Windows Update server, and that's what the team told me, right? So right before it really happened, they cut off the wire, and basically they were able to stop the entire thing in the very last moment. So great job, guys, again. And this is how they highlighted it, basically. The actual status is so that the asset owners do review the temporary measures. So they were informed that temporary measures were put in place, and they are now asked to reach out to the business owners, to the service owners, so that these guys can discuss the permanent measures and permanent improvements with the asset owners. For now, everything is safe because mitigative measures have been put in place, so that it gives the guys a bit time to understand what possible next steps might be. What we also see from here is that the duration is really quick, right? Only roughly 15 minutes was the duration in level 1 and roughly an hour in the subsequent levels until there was a final mitigative action defined and put in place. So beside that wrap up, beside that high level view onto the incident, let's look at the success factors we had while running through that critical moment. So we definitely had some high level of automation. What we saw here is when you walk through with a team that there might be many more places where we can put more level of automation into it, but for demonstration purposes and how the solutions play well together, we decided to only semi-automate, but there is a lot of potential for even more automation, definitely. It was simple yet clear processes. What does that mean? That means that there were simple steps to be accomplished. So basically that means that it was kind of nothing complex, right? So the team is allowed to be creative in their analytical activities, although they are guided by kind of a process. There is nothing they can do in a kind of a free form, right? So for instance, they are allowed to do some particular changes on systems as a responsive action, but that has limits, that has limitations. So there are guiding processes, but not, let's say, tightening processes. We get high quality source information, right? That is another good reason. So what we have seen and what you have probably seen is that all the steps in the incidents, or the participating incidents in the incident story, were relatively quickly and very enriched. So the additional information we can pull out of our CMDB helps really all kinds of analysts, first level, the second level, to make intelligent, informed decisions, and thus are able to really make quick decisions. And quick decisions help two things. Quick decisions help to reduce the exposure time. As a consequence of that, to keep the damage low, right? Risk is lower, the threat basically can be mitigated quicker, and so potential damage, both reputational damage, so non-commercial or financial, and financial damage, can be kept relatively low. We also had good teamwork, right? So Ryan was doing a fantastic job by qualifying that incident really quickly and giving Steve a very good indication of what he can expect and where to look first. He put every single piece of important information in the right place, so that Steve was really quick with understanding the incident and not needing to dig through the various systems and stuff. And that was obviously also the good quality data in the CMDB, and that is a must, right? A good quality CMDB is really the A and C of effective incident management and mitigation. And our team was motivated. What that means is basically that the team was really knowing what they're doing, and they really see meaning and importance in what they do, right? And that is definitely something which helps staying motivated, even though you go through night shifts, you go through all that hard work, you go through that sweating moments when you get nervous, when you do not know is that it's becoming a crisis or whatever. But this team stayed definitely motivated by working with that important thing and feeling they are part of something bigger, right? And that is, in summary, then supported by effective tooling. So tooling which is really there to do the job, tooling which is really placed where it can shine. Many capabilities are exactly there where they're needed, and they are on spot as well, right? So all these 6 factors together with a technology which plays well together and which is really there to support them, right? And not to guide what to do. The technology supports the team and did that very, very well. That 7-factor reason definitely is why everything went so well and why they were able to pull the plug right before the data left the company. Really proud of you. Go on this way. So, and another thing is definitely Mitro helped us, right? In what way Mitro helped us? We see it here. So kind of in the background, we see that the guys have helped me understanding all the indicators which were uncovered during the initial investigation and during the ongoing investigations. And what we see here is really that all the things we discovered were in the leftmost phases. There is lateral movement in that middle area, and there is exfiltration in the right area. Thank God the exfiltration we discovered here was an internal exfiltration only. The other tactics and techniques we discovered were always and were only happening during the preparation of the incident. So what that diagram, that classification of indicators into that schema helps us understanding is that we have good coverage throughout the various phases and that the indicators being found were not hitting any massively critical stage. As said, we pull the plug right before the data exfiltrates, right before the data was able to leave the company. So with that summary, really that is really cool success story. And that success story really helps me as the SOC manager to convince Brian, my CISO, to further invest in the SOC, right? And by mitigating so effectively, we create business value.